Hello everyone, we are from ECN3111 Group 2. Today we will describe that Milton Friedman. Who is he? Let's check it out. We will introduce from history, contribution and theory.
Now, we will first explain the history of Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman was born on July 31, 1912, in Brooklyn, New York, U.S., and died on November 16, 2006, in San Francisco, California. Friedman grew up on the East Coast and won a scholarship to Rutgers University, studying mathematics and economics. In 1932, Friedman graduated from Rutgers University and earned a bachelor's degree there, where he specialized in mathematics and economics and initially intended to become an actuary. During his time at Rutgers, Friedman became influenced by two economics professors, Arthur F. Burns and Homer Jones, who convinced him that modern economics could help end the Great Depression. After graduating from Rutgers, Friedman chose the other in economics at the University of Chicago, thus earning a Master of Arts degree in 1933. It was at Chicago that Friedman met his future wife, economist Rose Director. In 1935, he moved to Washington, D.C. to assist with a consumer budget study for the Natural Resources Committee. 2 years later, Friedman joined Simon Kuznets in studies of income and wealth distribution, in particular the distribution of professional incomes. In 1946, he accepted a position in the economics department at the University of Chicago, which except for occasional sabbaticals or visiting appointments would be his academic home for the next 30 years. He became a full professor in 1948, was named the Paul Snowden Russell Distinguished Service Professor of Economics in 1962, and became an emeritus professor in 1983. Friedman is also an American economist who received the 1976 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences for his research on consumption analysis, monetary history and theory, and the complexity of stabilization policy. Last but not least, he is an educator, one of the leading proponents of monetarism in the second half of the 20th century.
Next is contribution of Milton Friedman in his era.
Milton Friedman was one of the most influential economists of all time. He revolutionized the way economists think about consumption, money, stabilization policy, and unemployment. Friedman stands out as one of the great intellectuals of the 20th century because of his many contributions to economics. I will divide it into 9 parts. Let's go. A Monetary History of the United States, 1867 to 1960, written by Friedman and his co-author Anna Schwartz. It discusses the role of the monetary policy in the U.S. economy from the Civil War Reconstruction era to the middle of the 20th century. Argues that the bank failures and the massive withdrawals of currency from the financial system that followed significantly shrank the money supply. The permanent income hypothesis Nobel Prize was first on the list of theory of consumer spending, stating that people will spend money at a level consistent with their expected long-term average. Income. Offered his own simple version of the consumption function, which he called the permanent income hypothesis.
Milton Friedman is the father of monetarism. He created the theory of monetarism in his 1967 address to the American Economic Association. It is the antidote to inflation was higher interest rates, which reduces the money supply. Monetary policy, an economic tool used in monetarism. Central to monetarism is the quantity theory of money.
Capitalism and Freedom. Originally published in 1962 by the University of Chicago Press, discusses the role of economic capitalism in liberal society. Milton Friedman contribution and makes a depressing discovery. In his book, A Monetary History of the United States, showed how it was monetary policy, and not a failure of free market capitalism, that led to the Great Depression. The Fed was a main cause of the Depression because it shrunk the money supply by over a third between 1929 and 1933.
Milton Friedman is the father of income tax withholding. He was a part of a think tank that brought about income tax withholding as a temporary measure to help fund the war. Though he never questioned the necessity of it in wartime, Friedman later regretted having forced withholding on Americans.
Milton Friedman contributions is about the unemployment. Keynesians believed that the government faced a stable long-run trade-off between unemployment and inflation that called Phillips' curve. By increasing the demand for goods and services, permanently reduce unemployment by accepting a higher inflation rate. Friedman was not agree that.
Friedman contribution as an activism. After of success of capitalism and freedom, Friedman became the world's most widely recognized advocate for economics freedom. His op-ed columns in Newsweek, appearing every 3 weeks for 18 years. Friedman contribution in civil discourse. In 1980, Milton and his wife Rose Friedman collaborated with the visionary television producer Bob Catester to create a television series called As Free to Choose. The series aired originally on the public broadcasting system.
Now, we are going to talk about one of the main idea of Friedman, which is monetary theory. Friedman created the theory of monetarism in his 1967, and he expressed the importance of monetary policy and pointed out that changes in the money supply have real short-term and long-term effects.
Specifically, the money supply affects price levels. Friedman used monetarism to openly contradict the Keynesian principles of the Keynesian multiplier and the Phillips curve.
Next, we move to the ideas in monetary theory, which is 1. The demand for money. Money which people want to hold in cash or bank deposits is related in a fixed way to their permanent income.
3 major determinants of the amount of money households and enterprise will desire to hold at any given time. 1. Total wealth. 2. Cost of holding money. 3. Preferences.
The amount of money demanded varies directly with permanent real income and the price level, inversely with the expected rate of inflation, and insignificantly with changes in the rate of interest.
Friedman's The Quantity Theory of Money, published in 1956.
Friedman opposed the Keynesian view that money does not matter, instead promoting the theory that changes in the money supply affect real economic activity in the short run and the price level in the long run.
In the long run, Friedman stated that increased monetary growth will increase prices but has little or no effect on output.
In the short run, he argued, increases in money supply growth cause employment and output to increase, and decreases in money supply growth have the opposite effect.
Due to the inflationary effects that can be brought about by excessive expansion of the money supply, Friedman, whose work formulated the theory of monetarism, asserted that monetary policy should be done by targeting the growth rate of the money supply to maintain economic and price stability.
The above is all. Milton Friedman has said that it's nice to elect right people, but that's not the way you solve things. The way you solve things is by making it politically profitable for wrong people to do right things. Thank you for your listening.